Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm Wanda Curley, your authority on project, program, and portfolio management. This podcast is brought to you by PM Powered, your consulting firm to bring you everything that's project, program, and portfolio management. So if you need anything, please send me an email at wanda@pmpowered.com. But without further ado, let's go on to what our podcast has today. And the first thing I wanted to bring to you was the internet. And it comes from Singularity Hub, and I have five articles from Singularity Hub, and then we'll go into some news articles. But the first one is called Bot versus Bot, Will the Internet Soon Be a Place Without Humans? So that I found that very interesting, and it's saying that eventually it'll be like crickets out on the internet. It'll all just be bots, and it won't be any humans. So they go through three stages of the internet. So stage one already happened. That's in the beginning of the internet. That's when you had to ping the right machine and you had to transmit information to the right person, and it was very difficult unless you were kind of an IT geek to do the internet. Stage two is the bot environment. It's what we're in right now. So in other words, there's bots out there, but we're still out and actively on the internet. I know if you're like me, you're probably doing searches all the time for your work, or you're trying to buy something off of Amazon, or you're doing a search on Google. Well, that's the stage three is going to be bot versus bot. So think about when you're applying for a job, and they brought this in as an example. Instead of you going out and having to apply to everything, what you'll do is you'll have a bot that will put your resume or your e-portfolio or whatever you have, and it will send it to hundreds of potential employers. And on the other end, the potential employers have bots that are looking at your resume. So it's going to be bot to bot. Now, does that mean you're going to get a job sooner? Who knows? We'll see. But if you have bots versus bots, then it's kind of interesting to see what it'll be. But one of the things that it says, the problem is simple. If bots are now more efficient than people, they can get things done in ways humans can't. And we all know this. Yeah, I do know this. I keep on saying that project management has to use bots more often in artificial intelligence and IoT. But when there's also a bot on the other side, things start to get out of control. So remember, I was talking to you about applying to hundreds of jobs. So if my bot applies for 100 jobs or loans, and there are 100 bots on the other side replying, the interaction grows exponentially. So can you imagine having thousands upon thousands of emails? So you're going to have bots answering your emails. So they're saying that the best case is that the bots would be able to sort out what makes more sense for you to read. And that's what we're going to have to get to. Think about all the emails you have now and messages that you have to look at. If you do this exponentially, because now there's bots, your bot will have to decide what you read and what is important for you. So let's go to the next one. So this is also from Singularity Hub, and it talks about three huge ways tech is overhauling healthcare. If you're a project management manager on any one of these, please contact me at wanda@pmpowered.com. I'd love to hear from you. So it's saying that nowadays the drug discovery process is 100 times faster and cheaper and 90% more likely to succeed in clinical trials. So this is amazing to me because you'll be able to stop a drug sooner and not spend as much money because you know it's not going to work. And now that you can spend less money and get it out in there. But how are we going to change healthcare? Well, healthcare is going to change in three different ways. It's going to become personalized medicine. It's going to be delocalized care, and we're already seeing that on what they used to call telemedicine. They now call it e-medicine. And the new era of intelligent profession. So personalized medicine, we're kind of seeing it now. Genomes are being out there to see. So if you have a cancer, they kind of look at what the cancer and how it is in your body, and they actually target with genomics. So that's amazing to me that that's one kind of care that we're having. So UNC's, the University of North Carolina's Limburger Comprehensive Cancer Center uses cognitive computing to identify individually relevant therapeutic options based on one's genetic profile. So again, that's personalized medicine. Harvard Weiss's Institute's organs on chips containing microfluid channels, fluidic channels with human living cells and mechanical mimicry of an organ's microenvironment. So your organs are, and your cells are going to be on a microchip, and they actually have a picture of one. And to me, that's amazing. So they'll be able to take your cells and input it into different things to see how different medicines will react with you. So to me, that's absolutely incredible. So each of us has about 40 trillion microorganisms that occupy our gut, and each microbiome, like our DNA, is distinct. So they'll be able to look at this, and depending on what our microbiomes are, not only in our gut, but in the rest of our system, to help us fight organisms that are attacking us. So who knows, maybe 10 years from now, they'll have a cure for the common cold, because I know we all hate colds. So delocalized care. So mHealth, or mobile health, has already grown beyond $23 billion market. Think about WebMD. How often do you go out there to look up different things? I know I do. So what's another thing? Others like Wobot take on mental health. They're using cognitive behavioral therapy and communications over Facebook Messenger with patients suffering from depression. So think about that. Helping people with mental health issues, and they're doing it over Facebook. That to me is just amazing. Clarius L7 linear ultrasound scanners can connect directly to iOS and Android devices and perform wireless ultrasounds at any moment's notice. Can you believe that? Your phone is actually doing healthcare with you. It's doing scans. So with mHealth, platforms like ClickMedix, which connects remotely located patients to medical providers through real-time health data collection and transmission. What's to stop us from delivering needed treatments through drone delivery or robotic telesurgery? Another one is AR and VR will revolutionize medical training, making it immersive and ubiquitously accessible. So no matter where you are in the world, if you need somebody that has a certain background, so you need an expert in, let's say, cancer care, you won't have to travel to the doctor. You'll do everything that you need to do over your telephone or other media, maybe even your laptop. Another one is AI-aided IOMT. So what's IOMT? Internet of Medical Things. So can you imagine that? You can do, welcome to the age of intravenous nano machines, electronic implants, and pill-embedded sensors. While wearables have long been able to track and transmit our steps, heart rate, and various other healthcare factors, smart nanobots and ingestible sensors will soon be able to monitor countless health parameters and even help diagnose disease. I know right now, instead of having to go through a GI series, you can now swallow a pill and they can take pictures of your guts, and you may be able to see different diseases going on or get a clean bill of health. I know I've gone through several GI things, and that's very unpleasant. So if you can do it with a pill, that would be great. There's another one called IoT connected sensors are also entering the world of prescription drugs. Just this winter, the first sensor embedded pill called Abilify MySight was approved by the FDA. Digital pills like Abilify will now be able to communicate medication data to a user-controlled app. So the medication will be able to tell doctors if it's really working. So then there's also intelligent prevention. That's again where we'll have nanobot sensors in us and doing constantly checking our how we're doing, see if a disease is happening, how our drugs are working with us, and sending this information real time to your doctors. Now think about your doctors. Your doctors are already in absolute data overload. So they're going to need AI to actually look at what's going on with your body and giving them some information. So This also talks about A360 Executive Mastermind. This is a sort of conversation I explore at my executive mastermind group called Abundance 360. So that will be able to help. Then there's Abundance Digital Online Community. It's also a different thing on that. So just think about medical care and what's going on in that area. To me, it's just outstanding. So travels to your doctor may be a thing of the past. You just get onto your phone or get onto your laptop and talk to your doctor. So especially think if you're really sick, do you really want to go to the doctor? Just get onto your laptop. Okay, so the next one I have from Singularity Hub is called Big Tech Should Take the Lead on Climate Change. Here's why. So the Christiana Figueres was the United Nations climate chief, and she's taken on the thing of climate change. And she says that with everything that we've got going on in IT, climate change should be able to be looked at and understand what we need to do. So AI, it can look at all the data. Again, think about all the data we have in climate change. Internet of Things can help us. Big data, biotech, and more. So there's entrepreneurs and leaders in this area, and they can help us. But there's 100% circular economy throughout its supply chain. So Apple has committed to this, and they have 100%, as I just said, circular economy throughout its supply chain. Alphabet, which is Google, claims it now knows the world's largest corporate purchaser of renewable energy. Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg are investing $1 billion in clean energy solutions. The third and most significantly, the biggest influence the tech sector can have is not on its own emissions or even those of its suppliers. It is, after all, just 2 to 2.5% of global emissions. Tech titans are the interface with global consumers and citizens, so they can be able to help influence us as individuals to be more climate knowledgeable. I think that's great. So there's things as greenhouse, there's manufacturing industry. All of those areas can help with helping us with climate change. So another thing that they bring out is from Moore's laws to the carbon law. As a simple rule of thumb, the world needs to have half emissions every decade until 2050, excuse me, not 2015, 2050. The first halving is relatively easy and can be done without existing technology. Indeed, in 2017, solar photovoltaics grew 32%. So if we have more solar energy in the world, we can grow that even more to the 50% that we need. So think about that. Do what you can to bring down our global emissions. So let's go on to the next thing. Let me go into my other search area. So think about drones. We've got a lot going on with drones. So we have flexible Dragon drones autonomously shape shifts to fly through tight spaces. So this thing looks actually like a kid that's put together their Legos. It's got all kinds of different contraptions that fit together and then wires going through it. So I thought it was kind of interesting. And they actually have a video showing how it flies through tight spaces and changes shapes. So to me, that's absolutely amazing. If you're working on this, I'd love to hear from you. Please contact me at wanda@pmpower.com. And it's actually doing by Moju Shao, an assistant professor at the University of Tokyo. So he wants to put digital trends into this. So that just is amazing to me. But they're saying that Japan has actually been slow in the drone revolution, which I find kind of interesting, since Japan is actually usually very IT focused. So I can't imagine that they're slow, but evidently they are. But they have started on this drone technology of, as I mentioned, flexible drones. So that's something that you need to be looking at in the future. So can you imagine looking at your window and seeing this thing that looks like a dragon peering in through your window? I don't want that to happen, but it could happen sometime in the future. I could see where Amazon might need it for different shaped things that it has to deliver. So let's shift gears a little bit, and I'm now going to something by Accenture. And it says AI, artificial intelligence, opens up ways to see the unseeable in public safety provided it's used responsibly. Just like with any technology, we have to be ethical in how we use it because technology can be used for good or bad. So let's see how Accenture says this. So it says it can manage the mundane in public safety. So this means reducing the repetitive and procedural activities that police officers or anybody else in public safety and staff must undertake. AI can be applied to many administrative tasks, as we're already seeing in areas such as HR, finance, and rostering. In other industries, AI-enabled chatbots and virtual assistants are handling repetitive tasks like processing insurance claims. In policing, it's possible to see AI extending into operational areas such as intelligence management, investigation management, and case file preparation. So let's go to the next thing, seeing the unseeable. AI can process huge volumes of data at a pace that humans simply cannot do. And we know that. We see it in various areas. I just talked about it in the healthcare area. So now we're talking about public safety. As a result, it can extract insights and identify patterns and actions that would otherwise be missed. If you're working in this area as a project manager, please contact me. I really would like to hear from you. This can be especially valuable with vast volumes of unstructured data captured from video and voice recordings. Think of the area of when we think of terrorist activity, there's all kinds of voice and messages that have to be analyzed. If we have this being done by AI and Internet of Things, we will be able to catch even more terrorist activities. Policing the virtual world. Today, public safety agencies must not only keep our physical space and community safe, but also our virtual ones. And we see it all the time, especially in pedophilia and other things, where chat rooms are used all the time. But this is also used for terrorist activities. So if we have the virtual world being looked at by bots and by AI, we can stop crime before it starts. So we can see patterns there. So we can do it in the area of governance, design, monitor, reskill. So we have to do that for our people. So public safety is going to be changing a lot in the future. So stay tuned. If you're working in this area in public safety, I'd love to hear from you. So let's look at some of the areas that I found on news articles. So I thought this one was quite interesting. It talks about the top 12 project management certifications. A little surprised because PMI is on here, Project Management Institute, but they tout that they have the top certifications. But according to this article by CIO, they do not. So the top one is PMP, the Project Management Professional. That's kind of a given. The second one, which I found kind of interesting, was CAPM, which is the Certified Associate in Project Management. That's also done by PMI. But the next few are not by PMI. So they are CSM, that's Certified Scrum Master, CompTMI Project Plus certification, Prince2 Foundation and Prince2 Practitioner. I've actually been looking into those and thinking about doing that. CPMP, Certified Project Management Practitioner, that is not by PMI, folks. Associate in Project Management, that is not by PMI. Master's Project Manager, not by PMI. Professional in Project Management, not PMI. Project Management and IT Security, which I find quite interesting, again, not PMI. Certified Project Director, not PMI, Certified Project Manager from the IAPM. So I think PMI needs to look at these and see if they need to come out with any other certification to kind of meet the needs of the profession. I found Certified Project Director is kind of interesting. I think PMI needs to come out with something similar to that. So going on in the article, they do talk about project management professional being the gold standard, which I think is kind of interesting because it takes the triple constraints of time, cost, and scope. The next one they talk about is CAPM. Again, that's the Project Management Institute. Certified Scrum Master comes out from the Scrum Alliance. That's the ones who do it. To get certified, they talk about this being from $995 to $1,395, which I found kind of interesting. CompTMI Project Plus is from CompTMI. It's $285. Prince2 Foundation and Prince2 organization and Prince2 practitioners from ILX Group, and it's $200 and $340. Certified Project Management Practitioner is from the EC Council. It's $199. Associate in Project Management is from the Global Association for Quality Management. Interesting, is $300. Master's Project Manager comes from the American Academy of Project Management. It's $300 for application review, processing, review, initiation, and certification. Requirements are that you have 3 years of project management experience and training, which is kind of interesting. PPM is Professional in Project Management. It comes from, again, the Global Association for Quality Management. It's $300. Project Management and IT Security, it comes from the EC Council, and it's $250, and that's more for their courseware. Certified Project Director is $300. Again, it's from the Global Association for Quality Management. IPM, Certified Project Manager, comes from IAPM, and it's about $650. And there are other things out there. So make sure your needs for project management and get those things. That's when I called Malaysia's new light rail project to proceed at half the cost as the finance minister. I found this quite interesting because how many times do you hear about projects that are funded at half the cost? Now, it's kind of interesting because they said they did a separate study to see if it really makes sense that it was going to cost $4 billion. That's what they've approved. But originally it was at double that cost, and it was because they said it was done due to corruption and poor management. So I think it'll be interesting to see if that really happens or not. But to see the pictures of it, it's a light rail system, and it's very modern and sleek and up to date. So I'll kind of be looking at this to make sure that it doesn't go over budget. And the last thing I have for you today, which I found kind of interesting, is 8 things they don't teach you in project management school. And this was written by Mary E. Shacklett, and it's just her ideas on what she's learned through project management through the years. And it says how to dance with the stars when they don't want to dance. And she says that especially on IT projects, you have a few SMEs, and they're really needed on all the projects, and they tend to get a big head, and not all of them, but a lot of them. So she found that instead of waiting for the SMEs because your project will be late, she ended up going with junior soon-to-be SMEs that were willing to learn and willing to work hard. And while the project was delayed, they were able to finish on time because they got the information they needed sooner than they would have had they waited for the SME. How to pull a project plug. How many times have we been on projects that are doomed to failure and we know it, but nobody's willing to pull the plug? She talks about a project where the director of the IT project area was fired along with everybody on the project because they didn't pull the plug, and the project failed miserably and cost the company a lot of money. So feel free to say when the project needs to be pulled, when the plug needs to be pulled. I know I was sent to turn around a project, and I told my boss, this project can't be turned around. We need to pull the plug now. And for 3 years, they let it go on until finally one of the, I think it was the CIO, had the guts enough to say, this is ridiculous. We need to pull the plug. The reason they didn't want to do it was because it was a government adventure and they thought it would bring bad press. But as it turned out, it was a good thing. And yes, there was some bad press, but it was overcome. So the next one is how spouses and significant others can complicate projects. So they talk about when you have married people on the same project. I guess it can be good, but normally it cannot. She talked about this one project that she was on where the two spouses ended up competing with each other, and the project was doomed until they took one of them off of it. They took one of the spouses off, and then the project started turning around. So be careful if you bring on married couples to a project. I'm not going to say that it will fail, but there is some tension there. How to know a project is really going well. This one has to do with, she calls it a sixth sense. I like to call it how your gut feels. If you see everything looks fine, but your gut's telling you something different, go and spot check. Because normally if you've got a lot of years on a project in project management, your gut tells you a lot, even though everything's telling you that it's all right. So feel free to look at your gut. How to know when your user support starts slipping. Great project managers make sure that their projects maintain enthusiastic levels of user support and participation. If you see that's starting to wane, you need to act. And if your sponsor's starting to wane and you can't turn them around, look for another sponsor. There's nothing wrong with that. People get bored. People don't want, if they've been on the project for several years, it starts to be mundane to them. So either do something different or try to find different sponsors. How to develop project staff bench strength. One mistake that good to average project managers make is that they try to bring all of the top tech stars into every project. This goes back to thinking about you need to bring SMEs. No, folks, bring in junior people. They are willing to learn. They want to be superstars too. And what's the best way to do that? Bring them onto your project. How to prevent burnout when your staff insists you shouldn't. Burnout is a major thing on IT projects, and long hours and tight project deadlines don't make it easier. I found that you need to tell your people to go home, and I used to do it once a week. Yeah, they'll want to work late, they want to catch up, but I told them, no, go home, be with your family. And I did it once a week. Now, I didn't do it with everybody on the same day, but make sure your people are getting energized. They need to rejuvenate. Make sure they take their vacation. If they haven't, comp them a day. Let them take the day off. You're not going to get behind just for one day when somebody takes, or even a couple of people. How to ensure your project will really be adopted. There are thousands of IT projects that met deadlines and conformed to specifications, but ended up failing. Why was this? Because the end user wasn't brought in early. The end user can bring you all kinds of thoughts and ideas and tell you if this project is going to be accepted or not. The best, like as she says, I've had projects that have been deemed a success, but they were never used by the end user, or they were rejected by the end user, so it failed. So there you have it. This is what I have to bring for you this week. I am Wanda Curley. I am your authority on project, program, and portfolio management. Please contact me at wanda@pmpowered.com. I'd love to hear from you. Make sure that you follow me on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. I'd love to have you following me. Please, have a great week. I look forward to seeing you next week, and I'll have some great things for you. If you were a project or program manager on any of these things that I talked about, again, please contact me at wanda@pmpowered.com. I'd love to either talk about what you have to say via email, or I can bring you onto this podcast. I'd love to have you. If you have anything that you want me to talk about, please also send me an email, or if you have an event, contact me. That's wanda@pmpowered.com. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next Monday.